Hello students. Ngasi amok ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏ ꯁꯔꯒꯤ ꯑꯍꯨꯝꯁꯨꯕ ꯀ꯭ꯂꯥꯁ ꯑꯩ ꯑꯅꯤꯁꯨꯕ ꯀ꯭ꯂꯥꯁꯇꯨꯗꯤ ꯑꯞꯂꯣꯗ ꯇꯧꯗ꯭ꯔꯦ ꯌꯥꯝ ꯀꯥ ꯍꯦꯟꯅ ꯃꯔꯨ ꯑꯣꯏꯗꯕꯒꯤꯀꯣ ꯁꯔꯒꯤ ꯑꯍꯨꯝꯁꯨꯕ ꯀ꯭ꯂꯥꯁ ꯅꯩꯅꯔꯁꯤ which is very important. ꯉꯁꯤ ꯇꯥꯛꯀꯗꯧꯔꯤꯕ ꯇꯣꯄꯤꯛꯁ ꯌꯥꯝ ꯃꯔꯨ ꯑꯣꯏ. Let's see what are the topics to be taught. ꯉꯁꯤ ꯇꯥꯛꯀꯗꯕ ꯇꯣꯄꯤꯛꯁꯤꯡꯁꯤ ꯀꯩꯅꯣ ꯌꯦꯡꯁꯦꯕꯀꯣ. Okay, ꯍꯧꯔꯒꯦꯀꯣ sir. Okay, let's see. Ngasi sir na taktoise I will be talking about the male reproductive part of flower. I will be talking about the male reproductive part of a flower. Part of a flower. Maruina sarangashini taksi taktoise. After having done this, we'll also be talking about one particular phenomenon called as microsporogenesis. Aduna ay mathangi page ama semuge ko. Next page ta si takpolor kanda ko taktoise kaineva. I will be talking about microsporogenesis. Taktoine. Kitang di sangi kari ahenba takadoino yengasi. Yengasi ko. Satrasing thawai kitang changna tarasi kaiginoda takdoiba topic si kitang hangbam question mayam laigre hai tare ana kari topic taksige yengsi. Anyway, let's talk about the first topic of the day, male reproductive parts of a flower. Yare ko akoina hanadai khange kai khange lay amada flowers se reproductive organ ni hai ko pandi amada in angiospermic plant amada flowers are the reproductive organ ni haidan reproductive organ da akhoi nainagri se flower amada yaudoi calyx, corolla, androecium, gynoecium yawe haigibako. Out of the four parts of the flower, which one is representing the male part? The male reproductive part of a flower se kai kawe. The male reproductive part of flower is called stamen. Heniko. Yarniko. Panbi amada flower amada male reproductive part se kai koeba. It is called stamen. Hanadagi su khangeyam sulai da na cha. Collection of ꯍꯥꯏꯔꯤꯕ stamen ꯃꯌꯥꯝꯁꯤꯒꯤ collectionꯁꯤꯅ ꯀꯩ collection of stamen is called androecium ꯍꯥꯏꯅꯀꯣ stamen ꯃꯌꯥꯝꯅ ꯄꯨꯟꯁꯤꯜꯂꯀꯥꯟꯗꯅ androecium ꯀꯧꯏ class 11ꯒꯤ partꯅꯤ ꯍꯥꯟꯅ ꯈꯪꯉꯝꯗꯕꯁꯨ ꯑꯗꯨꯝ ꯃꯨꯟꯅ ꯇꯥꯕꯤꯔꯣ male reproductive parts stamen ꯅꯦ ꯍꯥꯏꯕ ꯑꯃ ꯈꯪꯉꯦ stamen ꯃꯌꯥꯝꯒꯤ groupingꯗꯨꯅ ꯀꯩ ꯀꯧꯋꯦꯕ we call it androecium. Normally androecium is representing the plural form while individual member of the androecium duna stamen कौवे. यारेको now let's go in details संगसियों अदि हुजिक stamen अमसे हिनेबा अखोइना हाना नहानसु अखोइ ताख्रबनी ममांगी क्लास ता सरगा ताकमिना गिवदनी लैगी मखोकसे कई कोइबा boy is giving a rose to his girlfriend. Where is he holding to? Kai da paira piru noe. Lay dugi makhok ta paira pido ne ba lay ma pige hai tardi na trane. Lay gi makhok sige maming we call it pedicel kawi hai gemne. For example, si se the lay ma sa le smaina. This is a flower. Flower sigi makhok se kai koeba. The stalk of a flower is called pedicel hai na koeba. Yare ko sarna kitang zoom out tara yek taragadi si laydugi makhoktunay lorsa. This is the stalk of a flower. This is what we call as pedicel. Si neba khina pedicel hairisi. Pedicel se the end of the pedicel gets swollen. Pedicel se swollen to the swollen end of the pedicel is called as thalamus or receptacle. Haina ko si kai ko ba nahan takram ni ko si di. This is called thalamus or receptacle. So what actually is thalamus or receptacle? It is the swollen end of the pedicel. Lay makhok to swollen end na receptacle natragana thalamus haina ko. Hairiba thalamus sida laydugi floral parts marido arrange to done. Mapan ithang thangba laydugi floral part to green in color generally. We call it sepal ko we haina tamgrabani. This is called sepal. Sepal sige mathangda next to the sepal we have the colorful part of the flower. Lainagi sarukto, colorful part of the flowers na kay kawa, we call it petal kawi hinatam grip. So this one is representing the petal. Nare ko. Mathangda, mapan itang tangbada sepal dagi mathangda petal dagi matangda. What do we have? We have the male reproductive part, which we call as the stamen. Hinako. Nare ko. So I'm going to write stamen to amtanga yeksi. So let us say this is the stamen. Sin stamen, Yareko. So the entire structure is representing the stamen. So I will simply put it, stamen se part anina sare. Kona khana siko dire. Sigi whole thing si stamen ni. Next to stamen, what do we have? Next to stamen, we have the kaileidoba. We have the innermost part of the flower, which is what we call as the pistil or carpel. Haina ko sino. Chinakai, we call it pistil or carpel. Pistil or carpel. Yareko. This entire thing is representing the pistil. While sida sarniiba, sige entire purple color is representing the stamen. Sumayin tawdana lay amase nahan tamgibada lay amasi floral parts marina sari outermost sepal, next is petal, next is stamen, and the innermost is pistil or carpel kawi hayo. Sidi am lai di hangakada valate ko sida. Now, aikoina naine doi shoje kaya suba parno the third hole of the flower 1 2 3 the third hole stamen sine. Yare ko. Now, let's go in detail. Ay nahan su sir na hay give the ko lay gi makhok se kai ko ba pedicel. Lay gi makhok pedicel ko re hay ko. Question is mahange. Rakesh is giving a sunflower to his girlfriend Radhika. Where is he holding to while giving the sunflower? Sunflower do piba ka da kadai da paira pigin. And many of you will answer pedicel na kumaktore. Pedicel na teko. Laigi makhoktu pedicel kawi. But sunflower di flower na tim. Sunflower is not a flower. Sunflower is an inflorescence name. Inflorescence ki makhokti kai kawin tama class 11 da. Inflorescence ki makhokti peduncle kawin. Adwai tari rakesh na pai di du kadai da tare. Peduncle win karakani. We'll come to the inflorescence to. Hey, class 11 gi morphology of flowering plants ta to kanda taxi. But just keep in mind that sunflower is not a flower. Sunflower is a flower di native. Yare ko aduduma akoi khangsan biba tare. Koi flower gi makhokti pedicel, but sunflower gi makhokti peduncle ko. And remember, sunflower is not a flower. Sunflower is group of flower acting like one flower. Nema di inflorescence. Yare ko. Hojik sir na tak to I will be talking about the third part of the flower, that is the stamen. Stamen. Shall we go in details? Yes, right. Okay. Hojik details sa ataas ko. Adudi sunflower entire stamen amag structure sa kumain to wings. So let me draw a stamen here. Something yings ko sir stamen e kyun? The stamen is made up of two parts. Stamen se part ani na sare. Per part of the stamen is lob. Marong ani long. The upper part of the stamen is a lob structure, and this part of the stamen is called anther. Haina ko. Sina kay ko ba? Anther. Haina ko. From the anther arises a long stalk. Saang mamatingdari. This long stalk-like structure is what we call as the filamen. Sineba ko na filamen hairise. Yare ko. So I'm going to level here. This is the filamen. Anther ga filamen kasi anis na pulagane will form one stamen sa doise. Adoy tari, sir na sida yi structure se kaino, I'm drawing a stamen. Stamen amane ba sir na yi. Whereupon, ngasay tamgibada, what is the swollen end of the pedicel called? Like makuktugi swollen end do kay kawe haigiba. The swollen end of the pedicel is called thalamus. Kawe haiginem. Adari stamina pan by the thalamus tagi palaktuina trusmaina. It's something like this. Main palaktuinem. Adi kay paano sa ni si filament ni kwa? Filament ki matun sila kay yaudono. We have the lobe structure called as anther. Si yaudonim. Dari ko. NCRT da iba kanda kamay ni i filaments. Si part se kay ko this part is the filament, while this part is the anther. Chumi ko. Adoy tardi filament to gi distal end to. Filament to gi arap endo. Filament si en ani yaudore na. I'm going to cut it here. Ay mutat kya wasna. Si makak thatke. Adi en ani ne filaments. This end and this end. Arapa end adi som na kande theta di soms na arapa na distal end tare. Distal end of the filament is always connected to the anther. The distal end sina kadai da napeva, anther da napeva. While the proximal the proximity da nak na lebe endo. The proximal end is connected to kai da napia. The proximal end is connected to the thalamus da napeva. And remember, ako na swai da point ang LN gi test series tay hangba thing ko. Filament ki distal end sinakai na peva. The distal end is attached to the anther, while the proximal end is attached to the kaida. Thalamus na napayay ay kese thalamus na pekon. Natragane, sometimes kadai da napasu yage haiba kandane. Lainado daw ina napasu yage. Singa sai lainado kay kogi petal kogi ra. Kari kumpa kanda lay panbi khara like Solanaceae family gumudadine petal se sidagi oina nappe. This is the anther, this is the filament. Filament se kaida nappe mai proximal end se petal do ina nappe ba. Karigumba filament की proximal end na petal na pam tardi isi condition se epipetalous condition है ना Narinig what is the condition called where the filament attaches to the petal? We call the condition as epipetalous. Aduna ne. So there should a question amakak layibako. Choose the incorrect or correct statement na hangbara. Sumayna. The distal end of the filament is always attached to anther. Chumra. Chumme city. Distal end di matam leba kivikta anther ga napna layni. While the proximal end city matam leba kivikta thalamus na napkani hebelabra. Layte. It could also be attached to kadai na napasuya eba. Petal na napasu yayo. Yare ko. To swai the question khara laire irai laina. Yung line lang doni ko. The proximal end would be attached either to the thalamus or to the petal na napayay. Habasima ako'y kawo dumsi. Yare ko. Now let's go the detailed structure of a stamen. Stamen se part kya yaure khangye bhoje. We just know that stamen is having two parts. The upper part is called the anther, while the elongated part is called the filament. Yare ko. Adoy tari sir sida amtak imina siyang over sir. You will understand everything. Don't worry. Look here. This is stamen. So this is a stamen. A stamen is made up of how many parts? Part kya nasareba? A stamen is made up of two parts. Part ani nasareba. So let me divide it like this. So I want to find okay call two parts. Hojiki mathak thangba lobe like structure do kai koeba anther. Aduga makhok tuna filament. Aduri sir amtak igeba ko. The upper part is called the anther. While, just a second, sir, kasi kitang koy sa koy lo ige ko yeng mo no. Okay, I'll put bit off here. Okay, look here. Stamen C, part ani na sarak to ini. Part ani C, upper part se kay koy ba? Marong ani long ma part 2, the upper part is called the anther, while the elongated parts na kay koy ba, we call as it as the filament. I am going to write som sina anther, hairage, makhok to na kay koy ba? Filament hay na kawi. Now, makata siga. Ay enter gi am detail side ring aida magi basic khara isip. Enter se enter. Ngasai structure khangre ko. So may I tam tangai exam siro. So sige upper part ni enter I see. Makhok sina filament kawi hai se khangmina gramne. Now, akoy kai iba yai. Sige enter se. Enter is considered as the fertile part of the stomach ni hanelawe. Fertile part. Kaidawagi fertile part ko rinoye. Anther is called the fertile part. Why? Because inside anther, pollen grains or microspores are produced. Asigi manungda pollen grains puthokto ne. Yare ko, kalay manungda inside please, sir, tathasange inside the anther kay puthokto ne ba pollen grains. Hanadigi lower class day kangbaduni na tra anther manungda pollen grains awina. Or ngasiri sir atopo maming ang pandore. Another name of pollen grains is microspores. Sign ko. Microspores are produced. Yare ko. Hangani ko, aduri microspore. Aduri pollen grains is spora. Yes, pollen grains are spores. Mashidagi hanganoini, pollen grains is spore makalamani. Yare ko. While coming to the filament city, it is considered as sterile part. Sterile adi ako'y karam kanda sine. Sterile adi fertile gi opposite. Macha pokpong ngamdaba singse. Isam sa na high tardi, macha pokpagi structure like pollen grains, microspore production they involved tau gi haina. That's why they are considered sterile haina considered to fertile part. Amatang ihuwa yabada filament ki proximal end kai da nappeba. Kananong tahibiro, the proximal end se is attached to kai da naptono. It's attached to either thalamus, thalamus ta napayay haino ita haigibani, or to kadai da napasuyayaba, or to petals ta napasuyayaba. It is not compulsory that proximal end will be always attached to thalamus, always napani haiba laitib. Petal na napasuyay, Petal na napamagana kay Kowano, we call the condition as epipetalous Kowanem. Epipetalous. Epipetalous condition C, Solanaceae family da phangmane, brinjal gi family da, morok gi family da uwa phangni moise. Yare ko, iringai da amatang ihauram si, whereas amana kadai da, distal end to the kanada napagalay, distal and it's always Nikosidi. Distal N is always attached to kananong haibiro kaida. Okay, very good. Attached to enter. Distal N to na enter the naptoba while kay proximal N say the proximal N is attached either to the thalamus or to the petal while the distal N it's attached always to the enter the napalator. Remember, anther is the fertile part. May manungda kay puthoktoneba microspores or pollen grains si puthoktoneba. Yare ko. And ngasi ay natakto siya na, I will be talking about the structure of anther in details. Nasa yung fertile part to, aduneba ay na detailed structure takto siya. Shall we proceed? Sibo gyan tari bra? Tari ko. Let's proceed. Makato tara yingsi. Now, Hojik, stamen amagi structure yaure, anther ga filament ke yaure haire, anther gi manung da pollen grains puthoktoini haibam khange, filaments is stalk-like structure ni may proximal and the thalamus da nape, aduga distal and anther da nape haina khangabani na. Now let's see the structure of anther. So I'm going to write, our next line will be structure of anther. Yung kasi ko, structure of anther. Sir, gise mapo kitang chongman sir na irisa. Okay, kitang kupsalaki. Okay, let's see. Enter say. Mutang yeke ko somna kanda. Horan traidar pada inga unaba. Enter. This is upper lobe-like structure is the enter ko we hai gibani. Aduga mangondagi thugla iba makoksina hojita sarga takmina gibada filament ko we hai na hai gibani. Remember, in almost 99% of the angiosperms, lay satpa panbi singdane, enter is always by lobe. Marong ani long so long is so this is the right lobe and this is the left lobe. Search my long later this side is the right and this side is the left. So enter is having two lobe. Marong ani long yun smile. Yani ko, two lobe. So I'm going to write han ba ay na enter ibaya ba say enter the kay ibai enter is always two lobe structure ne matam lebe khibik ka enter se lobe ani longi lobe ani long ba enter se we call it dithecous enter haine ko what is two lobe enter called enter being two lobe we use the term dithecous enter haine su thungnai asengbadi definition se mapung phadri hojiki oinadi for time being I better use two lobe enter are called dithecous enter koi haina dum use to wise yani ko in all the angiosperm except kana natana china rose natana the rest of the angiosperms are dithecous oil so two lobe enter are called dithecous except kana dadi two lobe oideba china rose dadi two lobe oideba sarna thainadi china rose se important oi hairambani hojikti yam sathina important oi hairage because china rose belongs to a family called malvaceae si nt na no na hapchalakhiba family singi manungda ama oibana it becomes very important nowadays very important kanada belong taweba china rose is a plant belonging to a family malvaceae hariba families that belong to wa panbi am khangne ana where in case of kana China ro study enter se study lob ani long dre enter se lob ama khaktam long eba lob ama khaktam long se kai ko eba except in China ros the enter is what enter is monothecous enter se monothecous oi atopa ngangningai points mayam leiri ko hoji simple oiba term and terminology sing se hana khara khangi si so let me level in China ros enter is monothecous while in rest of the angiosperm in 99.9% of the angiosperm enter is dithecous oil यारेको एंथर मनुंग द कई यावे हाइगी सरनो जे एंथर के मनुंग द पोलन ग्रेन्स यावे हाइगी एंथर के मनुंग द पोलन ग्रेन्स यावब्रा येंगेदी एंथर से सेक्शन का येंगद्रिगैदी खंगोइने को so let's have a transverse section of the anther sir anther se sumaina transverse section ko khalage sumaina ka asi section okay thangi ko sir nai se si anther gi lob amani si another anther gi lob amane lob si manung da se pollen grains yawri bre yengedi section ka sir gi kok se anther gi lob ne lor se si manung da pollen grains yawbring I have to cut it like this. Ado so on thora di manung yawudu urani ne. So that is what we call as the transverse section. So something like this. I'm going to have a transverse section like this. Transverse section ka age ado cut and no ido onsa ke usain. Let's see what is inside. Manung da kamay yawi yung sip. Shall we continue? Okay. Can you get it? Very good. Yang asika. Now, structure of anther in details. Anther ki transverse section da masak kamay tawi yung si. Third yung minasyon, ay sir, enter ki transverse section ab tak kaki yung ko mayam. Enter se transverse section kak pakanda na. The structure of enter looks exactly like this. Ay yelak to shmai udoni, mayam amtang yung minasi. The structure of enter looks like this. Enter ki section si. Okay? I will show you here. Sinida. Ngasay shumay na lay hiba loop ani do. Sina trane loop ani, sina filament eba. ꯍꯧꯖꯤꯛꯁꯦ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏ ꯁꯨꯃꯥꯏꯅ ꯀꯛꯑꯕꯅꯦꯕ ꯇ꯭ꯔꯥꯟꯁꯐꯔ ꯁꯦꯛꯁꯟ ꯀꯛꯑꯒ ꯁꯣꯝ ꯑꯣꯟꯊꯣꯔꯛꯄꯒꯤ ꯁ꯭ꯇ꯭ꯔꯛꯆꯔꯗꯨꯅꯦꯕ ꯁꯔꯅ ꯎꯠꯂꯤꯁꯦ ꯌꯥꯔꯅꯤꯀꯣ ꯑꯦꯟꯊꯔꯁꯤ ꯇ꯭ꯔꯥꯟꯁꯐꯔ ꯁꯦꯛꯁꯟ ꯀꯛꯄ ꯀꯥꯟꯗ we are able to see the two lobe ꯑꯅꯤꯁꯦ ꯑꯗꯨꯝ ꯎꯏꯌꯦ lobe ꯑꯅꯤꯗꯤ ꯁꯤꯁꯦ ꯑꯩ ꯁꯨꯃꯥꯏꯅ ꯈꯥꯏꯗꯠꯀꯦꯀꯣ ꯉꯁꯥꯏ ꯁꯣꯝꯁꯤꯅ ꯀꯩ lobe ꯁꯣꯝꯁꯤꯅ ꯁꯣꯝꯒꯤ lobeꯁꯦ the right lobe ꯁꯣꯝꯁꯤꯅ left lobe ꯅꯦ ꯍꯥꯏꯗꯅ ꯑꯗꯨꯃꯥꯏꯅ ꯇꯧꯗꯅ ꯑꯦꯟꯊꯔꯁꯤ ꯇ꯭ꯔꯥꯟꯁꯐꯔ ꯁꯦꯛꯁꯟ ꯀꯛꯀꯥꯟꯗꯣ ꯁꯤ ꯁꯥꯏꯗꯁꯤꯅ the right lobe ꯁꯣꯝ ꯁꯥꯏꯗꯁꯤ나 left lobe this side is the left lobe and this side is the right lobe. Can you get it? May ko sir naisa somsina right, somsina left ne. I know hujik question after that. This one is one lobe, this side is another lobe. Do the two lobes gets connected? Lobe ani sa samnabra. Yes. Lobe ani sa swaisaga sina samne. This portion of the anther helps connect the two lobes. Lobe ani sa connect to hundra. Hence this part of the anther is called connective. You know what I'm saying? Why is this part called connective? Because this is the portion of the anther that helps connect the right and the left lobe. Right lobe ka, left lobe ka, ani se connect to holiba jagani haiduna. Asibo koina kay ko ba? We call it connective ko. Yare ko, anther se lobe kya section kakthak pa matamda, anther se lobe kya yaw me, anther se lobe ani yaw le me. Ani ko, sumaina leramba anther to kakthalaga somdani onsali is sumaina. Adi manunga hobo to ure. Yani ko, anther ki lobe amamam sidane. Pollen grains yawak thau ani mok yaw lerme. Pollen yawak thau se we call it pollen chamber ko. Ngasai di sir na ngangdokhreba. Anther gi manungda pollen grains yawina. No, anther manungda pollen grains directly yaw sende. Hoi yawi. Anther gi manungda khau mi yawe. Khau di manungda pollen grains yawi haina haidone. Anther yawak khau se kai koeba. Sorry, pollen yawak khau se kai koeba. Pollen containing chamber are called as pollen chamber su hainai. Pollen sac su hainai. Asi kai koeba. Pollen chamber. The lobe amada pollen chamber ani ni yaw. Songi lobe sida pollen chamber ani ma. Songi lobe sida pollen chamber ani ma. So a total of 4 pollen chambers are there. Yare ko. Pollen chamber di maming sida takchere kay yawba khaw haina. Pollen grains yawba khaw haina. Can I also say that microspore yawba khaw haina su haina? Yai ko. Why? Because another name of pollen grain is microspore. Aduna pollen chamber ki atopa maming se microspore yawba khawni haidana. It is also called microsporangium haina kame. Singular da kay ko ba? Microsporangium. Yam lai bani. Microspore yawba khawdo microsporangium. Layman term the haragana pollen grains of kaudo pollen chamber. So pollen chamber and microsporangium are the same thing. Mane. Adipuna microsporangia kya yaure. Microsporangia mari yauradra. Adana antharamada Bithecus antharamada microsporangia mari yawi hedana. Bithecus anther are also called tetrasporangiate. Yareko. So let me write here. So anther is having two lobes, which we call as dithecus, right? And bithecus anther se kay su ba? Tetrasporangiate su koeba. Kay daw gino tetrasporangiate ko se maramdi dithecus anther amada punna pollen chamber mari yawbagini haido. Pollen chamber haigera natragana microsporangia mari yawbagini hina punsil. Yare ko. Now, I will be talking about theca. Ngasai sir na kitang mapung phawdi haibado, mapung amtang phange ko. Sida anther se lobe kya yawre? Anther se lobe ani yawre. Asom side ki lobe ama, this side and this side. Lobe ani yawri ni, lobe ani sibu samnari ba swai jaga sina connective kawe haigre. Lobe amamamda pollen chamber kya yawe ba? Lobe amamda pollen chamber ani yawe. One here and another one here. Pollen chamber di kaino. Pollen chamber di pollen grains yawa khawdune. Adudi anther di manungda khawdo hapke di khawduna hapam jaga do kitang kuthan mam change. ꯅꯪ ꯂꯩꯕꯥꯛꯇꯨꯗ ꯕꯦꯛꯇꯣ ꯊꯝꯒꯦ ꯍꯥꯏꯇꯥꯔꯗꯤ ꯁꯤꯃꯦꯟꯠꯀꯤ ꯕꯦꯛꯇꯣ ꯊꯝꯒꯦ ꯍꯥꯏꯇꯥꯔꯗꯤ ꯁꯤꯃꯦꯟꯠ ꯊꯝꯒꯗꯧꯔꯤ ꯕꯦꯛ ꯖꯒꯥꯗꯣ ꯀꯨꯊꯍꯟꯕ ꯑꯃ ꯆꯪꯉꯦꯕ ꯈꯤꯇꯪ ꯑꯗꯨꯃꯥꯏꯅ ꯇꯧꯅ ꯑꯦꯟꯊꯔꯒꯤ ꯃꯅꯨꯡꯗ ꯄꯣꯂꯟ ꯆꯦꯝꯕꯔꯅ ꯂꯩꯔꯤꯕ ꯖꯒꯥꯁꯦ ꯈꯤꯇꯪ ꯈꯤꯇꯪ ꯀꯨꯊꯔ ꯀꯦꯚꯤꯇꯤ ꯑꯣꯏꯅ ꯂꯩꯌꯦꯕ those cavities are called theca ꯍꯥꯏꯅ ꯀꯧꯋꯦꯕ ꯑꯗꯤ ꯁꯤꯗ ꯄꯣꯂꯟ ꯆꯦꯝꯕꯔ ꯑꯅꯤꯁꯦ ꯀꯥꯏ ꯃꯅꯨꯡꯗ ꯊꯦꯀꯥꯗ ꯍꯥꯞꯄꯝꯗꯣꯏꯅꯦꯕ pollen chamber fit ꯇꯧꯅꯕꯒꯤꯗꯃꯛꯇ in order to feed the pollen chamber there must be a cavity right there must be a cavity in the anther those cavities are called as theca ꯍꯥꯏꯅ ꯀꯧꯋꯦꯕ ꯑꯗꯨ ꯑꯣꯏꯇꯥꯔꯗꯤ ꯂꯣꯛ ꯑꯃꯗ pollen chamber ꯑꯅꯤ ꯑꯅꯤ ꯌꯥꯎꯋꯦ ꯍꯥꯏꯗ꯭ꯔꯥ ꯁꯣꯝꯗ ꯑꯅꯤ ꯑꯃ ꯁꯣꯝꯗ ꯑꯅꯤ ꯑꯃ ꯑꯗꯤ pollen chamber ꯑꯅꯤ ꯌꯥꯎꯔꯕꯅꯤꯅ ꯁꯣꯝꯗ theca ꯑꯅꯤ ꯑꯃ ꯌꯥꯎꯔꯝꯃꯅꯤ ꯁꯣꯝꯗ theca ꯑꯅꯤ ꯑꯃ ꯌꯥꯎꯔꯝꯃꯅꯤ ꯄꯨꯟꯅ theca ꯃꯔꯤ ꯌꯥꯎꯋꯦꯕ ꯑꯗꯨꯗꯤ ꯗꯥꯏꯊꯦꯀꯁ ꯑꯦꯟꯊꯔ ꯀꯗꯥꯏꯕꯨ ꯀꯧꯏ ꯍꯥꯏꯇꯥꯔꯗꯤ ꯗꯥꯏꯊꯦꯀꯁ ꯑꯦꯟꯊꯔ ꯁꯦ ꯈ꯭ꯋꯥꯏꯗꯒꯤ ꯕꯦꯁ ꯗꯦꯐꯤꯅꯦꯁꯟꯗꯤ ꯑꯦꯟꯊꯔ having two lobe with each lobe having two theca lobe ani yawba adu lobe amamda theca ani ani yawba anther do adubu akoina dithecus anther haina kawi haina adumaina maina hairase yare ko so this is how the transverse section of anthers looks like the anther gi transverse section ni ko kai kai uge yengse anther gi transverse section kappa kanda now transverse section of anther anther se transverse section kappa kanda ne uthoi kai uge when we have a transverse section of the anther, anther to transverse section ka po matamda, we are able to we are able to see two things. Posa ani ka uyer. Are we able to see the pollen chamber? Yes. To pollen chamber amo ure. Kaya how many pollen chamber dia? Hojiki oina dia pollen grains yawi haigi. We are able to see the pollen chamber. Kumana? We are able to see the wall of the anther. They shibok sa anther gi wall ko. Zeshibok se kai koiba anther gi wall. So we are able to see two parts, the wall part and the pollen chamber part. Ani se uni. Anther si transverse section kapakanda kai uyeba, we are able to see two things, the wall of the anther and we are able to see the pollen chamber having the pollen grains. Aduna, transverse section of anther se kakpa matamda, we are able to see two things. Posak ani kakui, kari kari uyeba, ahanbada anther gi wall mo uyeb. Anther wall. Amana kay uyeba pollen chamber. Pollen chamber uyeb. Pollen yawa kaw mayam ama yawa uy. Fill with pollen grains na fill tawba. Yare ko, asi uroidra? Jumi ko understand tawri ko? Anther gi wall se made up of layer marina sareba. Made up of four different layers. Four different layers. Kana kana no yeng asi layer mari si. Yeng si ko sarga. Okay, tapna yeng minasi sarga. Deshi se kai ko from here to here. Deshi sineba anther gi wall haise. Asigi anther gi wall se kai na sagi yeng se. Yare ko. Sir na meet se mu som de yeng se sir gi monitor se som de lay. Aduna ne ko. Haidi any brightness, any problem labor khotpra na check tawri. Anyway, look here. Deshi se kai ko anther gi wall ne. Anther gi wall se mapan itang thangbada. Outermost part of the anther wall is covered by a very thin, yamna paba single cell layer amna kupsalev. Anther is covered by outermost very thin single layered cells. Layer amana saba, single cell layer amana yomsali. Hariba single cell layer se we call it kay ko ba ay sida purple machu sinare noy purple oina ubra udabra khangde ay na sida sinariba purple machu gi layer se it is representing the epidermis ne. Mapan ithang thangba anther gi wall oido sino sige layer se kay ko ba so this layer is what we call as epidermis. Yariko? Akwai hande kangi mapan bu thangadi mai function ko yoramane. What is the function of skin? This is the outermost layer of the body. Protection. Epidermis ki function protection or mani. Atopa function palibra NCRT the yengsi hausi pokyo and the being outermost definitely it will engage in protection. Protection involved or mani. Yariko? Epidermis ki hek mathanga. Next to epidermis, we have another single cell layer. Cell layer amana saba layer amgale. Very thick but single cell layer ti oiba. Hariba thick layer say single cell layer ti oiba thick layer sige maming we call it endothecium haina ko sir sila sa orange machu na ye kitang zoom out ura no yengba nungay na ba so let me zoom out a bit okay sige orange machu gi layer say let me level first I will be using orange color this is called endothecium haina ko endothecium This is endothelium. ꯌꯥꯔꯦꯀꯣ ꯑꯩ endotheliumꯗ ꯁꯔ ꯈꯤꯇꯪ ꯉꯥꯡꯒꯗꯕ ꯂꯩꯔꯤ ꯍꯥꯟꯅ ꯑꯝꯇꯪ ꯏꯖꯈꯤꯒꯦꯀꯣ ꯍꯥꯏꯔꯤꯕ endotheliumꯁꯦ it has got fibrous thickening fibrous ꯑꯣꯏꯕ elastic somewhat flexible ꯑꯣꯏꯕ ꯀꯩꯗꯧꯕꯒꯤ because of deposition of cellulose cellulose deposition ꯂꯩꯕ ꯑꯗꯨꯅ thickeningꯁꯦ fibrous ꯑꯣꯏ ꯈꯪꯅꯕ ꯑꯩ ꯁꯦꯠ ꯇꯧꯒꯦꯀꯣ ꯑꯗꯨ ꯁꯨꯃꯥꯏꯅ ꯁꯦꯠ ꯇꯧꯁꯟꯒꯦ ꯁꯔ ꯁꯤ endotheliumꯁꯦ ꯀꯩ ꯑꯣꯏꯌꯦꯕ endothelium is fibrous in nature because of heavy deposition of cellulose. Cellulose की deposition leibana maram oirakanda mase fibrous oi haibasima kaubirano. Yani had I drawn endothelium all over the anther wall? No, sir, endothelium is all over the anther wall. Yekra the yektiva. Swai jaga se endothelium yektiva. Horen endothelium yaw the jaga se we call it stomium kawi and hierarchy. Kona wari sasi kong aktang lagi gesa. ꯁꯤꯒꯤ ꯑꯅꯤꯁꯨꯕ ꯂꯦꯌꯔꯁꯦ ꯀꯩ ꯀꯧꯋꯦꯕ ꯑꯦꯟꯗꯣꯊꯦꯁꯤꯌꯝ ꯀꯧꯋꯦꯕ ꯌꯥꯔꯦꯀꯣ ꯑꯗꯨꯅ ꯑꯩ ꯇꯥꯛꯅ ꯇꯥꯛꯅ ꯃꯔꯛ ꯃꯔꯛꯇ ꯁꯨꯝ ꯏꯊꯣꯛꯁꯤꯅꯦ ꯉꯁꯥꯏ ꯐꯣꯔ ꯗꯤꯐꯔꯦꯟट ꯂꯦꯌꯔꯁꯅ ꯁꯥꯔꯦ ꯍꯥꯏꯈ꯭ꯔꯦ ꯐꯣꯔ ꯗꯤꯐꯔꯦꯟꯁ ꯂꯦꯌꯔꯗꯨꯗ ꯑꯍꯥꯟꯕ ꯅꯝꯕꯔ ꯋꯥꯟ ꯂꯦꯌꯔꯗꯣ ꯀꯩꯅꯦꯕ ꯗ ꯐꯥꯔꯁט ꯂꯦꯌꯔ ꯏꯁ ꯏꯄꯤꯗꯔꯃꯤꯁꯅꯦꯕ ꯌꯥꯔꯦꯀꯣ ꯑꯍꯥꯟꯕ ꯂꯦꯌꯔꯁꯦ ꯀꯩ ꯀꯧꯋꯦꯕ ꯗ ꯐꯥꯔꯁט ꯂꯦꯌꯔ ꯏꯁ ꯏꯄꯤꯗꯔꯃꯤꯁ ꯗ ꯁꯦꯀꯦꯟ ꯂꯦꯌꯔꯁꯦ ꯀꯩ ꯀꯧꯋꯦꯕ ꯗ ꯁꯦꯀꯦꯟ ꯂꯦꯌꯔ ꯏꯁ ꯑꯦꯟꯗꯣꯊꯦꯁꯤꯌꯝ ꯍꯥꯏꯅ ꯈꯪꯅꯩ ꯁꯔ ꯑꯦꯟꯗꯣꯊꯦꯁꯤꯌꯝꯗ ꯄꯣꯏꯟ ꯑꯅꯤ ꯈꯛꯇ ꯏꯖꯍꯧꯒꯦꯀꯣ endothelium endothelium has got kai thickening layeba fibrous thickening layeba madi fibrous thickening of kai na saba thickening of cellulose ki thickening laygani and ani suba point dane they are hygroscopic in nature moi se kai oeba hygroscopic oeba hygroscopic adi kai they tend to absorb moisture from the surrounding ꯃꯄꯥꯟꯗꯒꯤ ꯏꯁꯤꯡ ꯆꯨꯞꯁꯟꯕ ꯉꯝꯃꯦꯕ ꯑꯗꯨꯗꯤ ꯑꯦꯟꯗꯣꯊꯦꯁꯤꯌꯝꯁꯦ ꯍꯥꯏꯒ꯭ꯔꯣꯁꯀꯣꯄꯤꯛ ꯑꯣꯏꯕꯅꯤꯅ ꯃꯣꯏꯆꯔ ꯃꯄꯥꯟꯗꯒꯤ ꯏꯁꯤꯡ ꯆꯨꯞꯁꯜꯂꯅꯤ ꯄꯣꯠꯁꯛ ꯑꯃꯅ ꯏꯁꯤꯡ ꯆꯨꯞꯁꯜꯂ ꯇꯥꯔꯗꯤ that something will get swell ꯃꯪꯒꯟ ꯃꯔꯨꯗꯨꯗ ꯏꯁꯤꯡ ꯆꯨꯞꯁꯜ ꯇꯥꯔꯗꯤ ꯃꯪꯒꯟꯗꯣ swell ꯇꯧꯔꯛꯇ꯭ꯔꯥꯅꯦ ꯊꯥꯏꯅ ꯍꯪꯉꯝꯃꯦꯕ ꯅꯣꯡ ꯃꯪꯉꯀꯥꯟꯗ ꯋꯨꯗꯟ ꯗꯣꯔꯁꯦ ꯇꯥꯏꯇꯟ ꯑꯞ ꯑꯣꯏꯁꯦ ꯊꯣꯡꯁꯦ ꯆꯤꯟꯕꯅꯦ ꯌꯦꯡꯉꯨꯅꯦ ꯊꯣꯡꯅꯥꯎꯒꯁꯦ ꯆꯤꯟꯗ꯭ꯔꯥ ꯅꯣꯡ ꯃꯪ ꯇꯥꯔꯗꯤ ꯑꯗꯨ ꯀꯩꯒꯤꯅꯣ ꯍꯥꯏ ꯇꯥꯔꯗꯤ ꯋꯨꯗꯟ ꯁꯔꯐꯦꯁꯇꯨꯅ ꯃꯣꯏꯆꯔ ꯑꯦꯕꯖꯣꯔꯕ ꯇꯧꯕꯩꯅꯦꯕ ꯍ꯭ꯌꯨꯃꯤꯗꯤꯇꯤ ꯋꯥꯡꯉꯕꯅꯤꯅ ꯃꯣꯏꯆꯔ ꯑꯦꯕꯖꯣꯔꯕ ꯇꯧꯔꯅꯤ when something absorb moisture that something will get swell ꯍꯥꯏꯗꯤ volume ꯆꯥꯎꯊꯣꯔꯛꯑꯅꯤ ꯑꯗꯨꯅꯅꯦꯕ ꯆꯤꯡꯈꯠꯂꯛꯏꯗꯣ ꯑꯗꯨꯃꯥꯏꯅ ꯇꯧꯅ ꯁꯤ ꯑꯦꯟꯊꯔꯅꯦꯕ ꯑꯦꯟꯊꯔꯒꯤ endothelium wallsꯤꯅ ꯀꯩ ꯆꯨꯞꯁꯜꯂꯅꯤꯕ ꯏꯁꯤꯡ ꯆꯨꯞꯁꯜꯂꯅꯤ so it gets swell ꯆꯥꯎꯊꯣꯔꯛꯑꯅꯤ and finally the anther will get burst anther ꯄꯣꯈꯥꯏꯔꯅꯤ ꯃꯅꯨꯡꯗ ꯌꯥꯎꯔꯝꯕ pollen grains ꯊꯥꯗꯣꯔꯛꯑꯅꯤ ꯑꯗꯨꯅ ꯑꯦꯟꯊꯔꯒꯤ ꯗꯤꯍꯥꯏꯁꯦꯟꯁꯇ ꯈ꯭ꯋꯥꯏꯗꯒꯤ ꯃꯇꯦꯡ ꯄꯥꯡꯕ ꯂꯦꯌꯔꯅꯦꯕ endotheliumꯁꯦ how because of its hygroscopic nature ising chupsanba ngambadun yare ko so ising butaki ising chupsanba ngambaduna kaidaweba si anther do ising chupsalani the endothelium duna so anther will get swell gradually swell and finally burst releasing the pollen grains so thado alaptoine that's how endothelium helps in dehiscence anther bursting the mating pang pollen grains release tawna yareko one more now back to the previous diagram ana anisuba se khangani ko I all over loi thungnaba yektre kuina changani na now ahum suba layer tak tringai da ai manung ithang thangba layer hana tala khige horen sigi pollen chamber manung sidadi kai yauri na pollen chamber manung sidadi pollen grains yauri ne kai neba yellow machu se the yellow color represents the pollen grains yani ko pollen chamber to ko hek thangna na next to the pollen chamber just next to the pollen chamber we have the innermost layer of the anther gi manung ithang thangba anther wall gi manung ithang thangba layer se le sigi manung ithang thangba layer sigi maming we call it tapetum haina ko sigi manung ithang thangba layer se kai ko ba we call it tapetum ai nucleus se hojiki oina di amom tang yeke adubu ma se mature or kan di binucleated or multinucleated or kuni ko ngahale khana si sigi manung ithang thangba layer green machu gi layer se kai ko ba we call it tapetum ko tapetum gi mawari sananingai yam lairi ngaktan layer khana si adi petam ga hek thangna leise kanano pollen chambers ne hore manung de oriba pollen grains oriba pollen chamber de oriba pollen grains sing mana nutrient supply tawdoni ngakang lere khana si ko adudi ai wall layer kya ye wall layer humi e outermost epidermis next endothelium manung ithang thangba tapetum adi tapetum ga ani suwa layer di marak to hanga leibra di leite ba marak ki layer se it's filled with kaina fill tawi marak se hai tardi it's filled with another multiple layer. Multiple ni ko, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Amakha oiba yai, ani oiba yai, ahum oiba yai. Ay layer ni ko se. Se layer ni sisu, ay se layer ni na cell when reaction get us minor. These are the cell layers. You know, yauriba multiple layers sir orange na yi ise. Kitanga zoom out tawra sir. So kitanga zoom to kyon to. Let me zoom out a bit. Aduga ay orange am kana to kyo. Can you see it? Mapan itang tang ba si epidermis? Next key orange layer si kay we call it endothelium. Aduga multiple layer mo urises reisa. This multiple layers. I'm using yellow color used to say. Asana we call it middle layers. Ano ko? What is this called? These are called the middle layers. Karni ko, ana anther ki wall se punna layer kya na sara kya ita layer makal mari na sare 4 different layers na. Ay zoom to ko. Why cannot I zoom it? Okay, let's see here. Adi epidermis ne, endothelium ne, middle layer ne, tapetum ne. Moi mari se pullaga wall of the anther. Anther ki wall se This will form the wall of anther. Gyan tabra sir na taisi, gyan taribra, anther ki wall se adri layer makal kya na sari, layer makal mari na sari. Outermost epidermis, second endothelium, third middle layers, and innermost endothelium. यारेको तबतबु अखोइना खंगदोसे लेयर अहुम सिदा सिंगल लेयर ngakne epidermis su layer am khatani endothelium su layer am khatani tapetum su layer am khatani except middle layers they are what to say variable in number amaka oibi ani oibi ahum oibi maximum the mari oibi amabo yaudra su yai yani ko an variable oiba layer se kanane ba middle layer ni haiba sima khangjan minarase now let's go in details sang asiyo ida hoita sir na hai give do Anisuba layer se kay koiba endothelium. Now back to the third layer. Hum suba layer do kay koi hai kibam to kumo. Yes, very good. Middle layers ko. The third layer is called middle layers. Middle layers di ay sidam sajan ko. They are variable in number. Variable in number adi panbiyam ga manadeba. Panbi kharadana amaka oibe kharadana anni ahum maximum the mari bo oibe shunga yaw da basu yai. Sige mapan ithang thangba layer ahum se kana epidermis ne endothelium ne middle layer ne moi ahum se they do the job of protection and dehiscence the mating pang harameba kay the mating pang do ba protection ga dehiscence ka protection and anther na pokhay ba da mating pang ngasai na sir na dehiscence sa kana na mating pang hai endothelium yes layer ohms the main role low the shivudi endothelium neba. Yet all of them are involved in protection and dehiscence the mating pamani habasima power humsi. Mayam sir sibo khangi haina low yare ko. Okay. Next, loidore manung itang tangba mari suba layer se kai koeba. The innermost layer, the most important layer of anther wall is none other than the tapetum. Yareko, tapetum cell the question T hangi sir Ellen get test series na yam thingarabani. Ano yang si tapetum da koina khangba yabasa. The cells of tapetum. Tapetum cell ningsangi ko. To si manung itang tangba sir na green machu na yise. The green layers the cells of tapetum se they are generally binucleated or polyploid. Oye. Yareko, so let me write tapetum cells se ko cells are binucleated. Oye. Kaidaw sir binucleated oiridi. Kaidawagi binucleated oiriba because while forming tapetum cells form tawantamda, they undergo karyokinesis not followed by cytokinesis na follow torok tawinim. Yarni ko, aseng madi cell na divide tawgedi, this is a cell. This is the nucleus. Cell na divide tawgedi, ahan the steps se kaino, mawanda yaw nucleus yan ani tuktuani. Natra, nucleus na divide tawgese kay ko iba karyokinesis. Aseng badi karyokinesis loibaga cytoplasm se makhwang chingjanbo ra ani makhwang chingjanbo ra ni jar launa pat launa ni tatto ne sina cytokinesis ana nuclear division hek loibaga cytoplasm su divide togodam ne whereas during the formation of tapetum cell form torpotam dadi only karyokinesis is there not followed by cytokinesis na follow torokte that's why they are binucleated or is aduna ne yare ko now Functions of tapetum. Tapetum ki functions khara yengsiko. It has got as many as about 4 to 5 functions lay. Ay maru iba khara tambange NCRT da yawba du da focus tor shay ko. Ada edges. Yam din tab kitang ka edge da chatke. Tom dingsi. Tapetum cell ga hek thungna lay do kanano. What is just next to the tapetum? Tapetum cell ga hek thungna lay do pollen chamber filled with pollen grains. Manung diyaw di pollen grains yams. Ana pollen chamber gi manung diyaw riba pollen grains singse. As the pollen, while the pollen grains are still inside the pollen chamber, release tawdring aida pollen chamber se kadai manung diyaw ring aida. Pollen chamber manung diyaw retardedi, they must be fed. They must provide nutrients for survival. They must be provided nutrients, provide to wamchangyo. Like akoy su imagi buk manung diyaw ring aida di mama na akoy embryo do da placenta gi through the nutrient supply taro hingala thaminatrane. Likewise, pollen grains into pollen chamber manung de yawring aidadi. They must survive by eating something, by feeding upon something. Ana kari chara hingiba plus ngasai tapetum sina nutrient supply to bi. Ana the main job of tapetum se tapetum ki the function se kaineba provides nourishment to whom? To developing pollen grains. To developing pollen grains haige hybra natragana microspores. Pollen grains or microspores. The machinzak supply to bani haido. Yarage ko. Hojek sir, sige pollen grains am talo thorke. Let me take one pollen grains out. Sige yellow sinatra pollen grains hai. Ay nga say pollen grains hai microspores ko hai ko. Adi spore ni ne. Ako na class 11 the spore define to ko mind define to hai. Spores are unicellular structure ne. Cell na sabi structure ne. So pollen grains being a spore, it is also made up of single cell. Cell na sayo. So I'm going to take one pollen grains out. Pollen grains am log thoge. So I let us say this is one pollen grain. See pollen grains am ne lower adi selamna saramoidra nucleus ko yawamoidra yawre to hariba pollen grains hai sigi akoibasida around the pollen grains sigi akoibada the most resistant organic compound ever known on earth prithivida khwaidagi kanba chemical amana yomjale every pollen grains are covered by the most resistant organic compound on earth we call the compound as kaineva sporopollenin goba compound amna sporopollenin Sporopollenin से कहीं नेवा the most resistant organic compound. Organic compound क्या है? Organic compounds are the compound of carbon and hydrogen. Natra carbon का hydrogen like glucose, fructose, hydrocarbons lady में हमसे. So मायने ने कहता हुए बा इधर resistant होए resistant क्या हम ओइगे दा ngasi फावदा sporopollenin थुवाइबा ngamba enzyme discovered तौदरी. Yareko aduna surround to pollen grains. And highly best sporopollenin se kanana sungboiler meba tapetum na sungboiler meba. So what is the second function of tapetum? The second function of tapetum is it secretes kay sungdoba it secretes sporopollenin sporopollenin. Kaya way the sungdoba around the pollen grains. Pollen grains to get around the pollen grains. Sporopollenin sungjaleb. Yareko, isam sam na hairabada si pollen grains ni haina low taragadi pollen grains si akoibada yamna kanba chemical ama. Yani ko acid na alkali na enzyme na thugaiba ngamdaba chemical amna yomsali hariba chemical the sporopollenin kawi and hariba sporopollenin do muk papetam na sumbo oilerame sinita. Narani ko ang na pollen grains sing si sporopollenin na surround to wana maram oiraga pollen grains have got high chances of fossil formation or fossilization. Fossil combine form to ikang bra. पानबीम दे उनाम के लिए उना से के लगा लेबाक ता तारा पत खितारदी डिकम्पोज तो खितारदी फॉसिल फॉर्म तो यागरा नो अदि डिकम्पोज तो अनबे यादे बैक्टीरिया दगी इसिंग न पतलन बे यादे नुक्सिना पाइथुअन बे यादे यानी को then heat na decompose to on be bacteria na chatuan be fungi na chatuan be it must be a resistant oigadam it must resistance against those weather conditions sing dudagi protective oigadam ne but pollen grain sing di tar e lebak ta nungsa na sar su nong kan na chur su moi de thuai bangam de because they are covered by sporopollenin yare ko ana moi se fossil formation gi chances yang wangi haidone yaraba sibokta next ay amatanga hapawgi ko third point ahum suba point da sar na hapa yabase noi pollen grains uraba kai machu No, no. Pollen grains are not yellow. Pollen grains machu yellow oideko. Pollen grains na yellow machu oirisidi only for insect pollinated flower kaktagini. Normally pollen grains di transparent whitish machu oibane. Kaidobaineba pollen grains se yellow machu oirise si pollen grains ne lauraseba. Pandi kharadadi pollen grains si akoibadane. Around the pollen grains there is a sticky yellowish substance. Nap nap lauba yellow machu gi substance amna yomjale. Like China rose the soup labani. Sticky yellowish substance amna yomjali. I did a sticky yellowish substance to pollen kit coin. Horen khoiduna la tong with a makong the tlaw napa tong hianam. Ado to pom the tong dong pollination to wayanam. Insect na pollinate to flower khakta the pollen grain si yellow ini. Adugi yellow oheliba sticky yellowish substance maming pollen kit coin. Adugi pollen kit su tapetam na sungev. Tapetam also secrete mana sukai sungeva secrete pollen kit su sungeb hariba pollen kit se kana khakta da phangni ba insect na pollinate towa flower khakta da phangani habadum phangasi last umdang ha ye ko last the tapetum na ne enzyme nam su sungeba tapetum also secretes an enzyme hariba enzyme dugi maming kai ko ge ham tamna the name of the enzyme is called kelase ko ai kelase enzyme se kai no sing hale haira age ko I will let you know what kelase enzymes are ꯍꯧꯖꯤꯛꯀꯤ ꯑꯣꯏꯅꯗꯤ ꯇꯥꯄꯦꯇꯝꯅ ꯁꯨꯡꯏ ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯗꯨꯃ ꯈꯪꯖꯟꯕꯤꯔꯁꯦ ꯌꯥꯔꯦꯀꯣ ꯑꯗꯤ ꯇꯥꯄꯦꯇꯝ ꯐꯪꯁꯟꯁꯤ ꯄꯨꯟꯅ ꯃꯔꯤꯅꯤ ꯑꯍꯥꯟꯕꯗ ꯃꯅꯨꯡꯗ ꯄꯣꯂꯟ ꯆꯦꯝꯕꯔꯗ ꯌꯥꯎꯔꯤꯕ ꯄꯣꯂꯟ ꯒ꯭ꯔꯦꯟꯁꯤꯡꯗꯨꯗ ꯃꯆꯤꯟꯖꯥꯛ ꯄꯤꯕ ꯑꯅꯤꯁꯨꯕꯗ ꯁ꯭ꯄꯣꯔꯣꯄꯣꯂꯤꯅꯤꯟ ꯁꯨꯡꯕ ꯑꯍꯨꯝꯁꯨꯕꯗ ꯄꯣꯂꯟ ꯀꯤꯠ ꯁꯨꯡꯕ ꯑꯗꯨꯒ ꯃꯔꯤꯁꯨꯕꯗ ꯀꯦꯂꯦꯁ ꯑꯦꯟꯖꯥꯏꯝ ꯁꯨꯡꯕ so this is all about tapetum and this is all about the wall of the anther antherꯒꯤ wallꯗꯨ ꯁꯤꯗ ꯂꯣꯏꯔꯦ ꯁꯤꯗ ꯍꯦꯟꯅ ꯍꯪꯐꯝ ꯁꯨꯡꯂꯩ ꯂꯩꯇꯦ ꯌꯥꯔꯦꯀꯣ ꯀꯔꯤ ꯀꯔꯤ ꯍꯪꯕ ꯌꯥꯔꯤꯒꯦ ꯌꯦꯡꯁꯦ ꯑꯇꯣꯞꯄ no sorry now let's see again Hosik, anther ki wall khangem. We write few things about the anther wall. Let's talk about the pollen chamber. Pollen chamber manung kay yaugi. Ngasai tamgre pollen chamber di kay yauba khaw. Pollen grains yauba khaw. Ado pollen yarm de. Laiduna po mingai matamda young oiringai matamda dina. There is no pollen grains inside the pollen chamber. Pollen grains yarm de. Pollen grains idri laiduna mature or kanda satora kanda yarakadaba structure ne. Adri kay wena yarm jano sir. Pollen grains yarm the targadi. So ay hairage ko. Pollen chamber si manungdane. Pollen grains is spora. Pollen grains is spora. Spore ni ko. Ana pollen chamber muhuta. Pollen grains ki muhuta spore form to bunga ba cells ni arme. Hari be spore form to bunga ba cell do. Sporogenous cells. Hani ko. Kay na filter me ba instead of pollen grains the entire pollen chamber set they are filled with cells. Kay cell. Spore form to bunga ba cells no na filter me. Hariba spore form to mga cells do we call it kay ko ba sporogenous cells hani ko aduna ne sumaina haibna phayim and third C transverse section ka matamda what do you see kay ugay that we are able to see two things and third wall gi part ama pollen chamber filled with sporogenous cells na fill to ba kay never say sporogenous cells spore form tawang ang cells na oina filter me matamda na pollen grains out I'm talking about young anther niko anther na young wari ngai wari niko hojik sporogenous cells degi pollen grains walak to ne sporogenous cells de spore walak to ne kai spore microspore walak to ne kamay wala iyings yaraba adoy tardi mo sir sida muk thage ko pollen chamber se kai na filter me ba once matamamada fill with spore forming cells coles kai ko ba Sporogenous cells. Sporogenous cells na filter me. Just remember, sporogenous cells are diploid niko. Diploid cells them. Yare ko, sporogenous cell is spore form to mga cells. Like germ cells are gonna gamete form to mga cells. Now, later on, the anther se tam na mature oreb. As the anther grows mature, every sporogenous cell, kuding magsa, they start behaving as microspore mother cell. So, microspore mother cell, the pollen mother cell. Pollen grains pangamba mama ama ole e haine. Yani ko, horen tap na, enter sina mature or po matamda sporogenous cell kuding magse kay wala ni ba? Sporogenous cell kuding magse. All the sporogenous cell directly behave as pollen mother cell. Pollen mother cell adi pollen pok pangamba mama ole. Pollen ke toming di kay kawi microspore kaudra. So I can also say microspore mother cell ole. Every sporogenous cell behave as microspore mother cell. I'm saying every, all the niko. Horen female dana many mayam di malte amakak megaspore mother cell ko we harakani hojikti sporogena cell kuding thousand sporogena cell around that all thousands of them will be changed into microspore mother cell on kani harakani adi microspore mother cell haibaga sporogena cell haiba kai kene kam kenadi sporogena cell sina young waiting ai de sinagadaba aduga microspore mother cell haisina kitang mature or consider Yaniko, Hairiba microspore mother cells singse, they start undergoing meiosis the thabore. I am a Tokyo. Let me take one out. I try doing it with Kepa. Aduna nungai male. Look here. I'm going to take one out. I see the lady ba microspore mother cell me sporogenous cell me am say. Kuji microspore mother cell one grain mature kanda. I'm going to take one out. I'm gonna throw you. Let us say this is one microspore mother cell amani hello twice. Natra Hariba microspore mother cells hai. Kai chathaboreva. They start undergoing meiosis. Meiosis chathaboreva. Yareko microspore mother cell amana meiosis chathatardi it will give rise to hana sukhangi duni cell amna meiosis chathatardi daughter cell mari form taweda. It give rise to four daughter cells. One, two, three, four cell mari form taweda. Yareko Yareko, microspore mother cell adi microspore ki mama hai ni adi polak te macha adi microspore kor mani ana form toriba daughter cell mari se they are microspores hana daki sukhang mani cell amana meiosis satha tardi the daughter cells will be having half the number of chromosomes the twice and lerambadu microspore sings di kayarni they are having n number of chromosomes lerni Yareko, ado sumai leiti microspore mari se sumai na le Microspore Maria ay one, two, three, and four. Maningdama, haiti tetrahedral arrangement dalay. But, sir, takpo nung ay na ba dong mari mo utya ko? Microspore mother cell amana meiosis sa tarakanda microspore mari form tawre microspore mari sumaina. Hari ba microspore mari se? Glue na napnara thamamem. The microspores are glued together by a chemical. Chemical na napnara layramem. Hairiba chemical sige maming kay ko ba? We call it kelos. Haini ko sina kelos. Yare ko. Adi moy mari se punna laiminari kandadi. We better use the term microspore ko kung sila. Microspore tetrad or pollen tetrad. Ano yun ko Hikay ko ba? We better call it pollen or microspore tetrad. Hay giseba. Hay di mari maglaiminari ba nina? Yare ko. Later on, hay di ba mari se kay na napnara thamino kelos na tra. They are acted upon by keles enzyme. Keles na trathokrani ba? Masai keles ka na sumbat hapetam na sungan gibdo. Todo na NCRT de yaw ay na keles balawrido si takon nungay na baneb. Keles enzyme na sathokrani thereby separating the individual pollen grains among the lapunar ani. Kudikti among the setonar kanadi, what can we use? We can start calling each of them as pollen grains. Sana ko ba yan? Yarani ko, ana microspore mother cell amana meiosis amurak tawraga microspore mari form tawgi thongse we call it kay ko ba microsporogenesis haina ko microsporogenesis adudi pollen grains mari form tawge di meiosis kya rak tawye meiosis amurak tawye yare ko pollen grains chama form tawge di meiosis kya rak tawne mari form tawda meiosis amurak tawradi chama form tawdadi kun mangarak tawni aduna n number of pollen grains form tawgedi n number of pollen grains form tawge hai tari meiosis kya darkar oini hai tardi it is given by n divided by 4 na bido chama form tawgedi chama divided by 4 equal to 25 tare na so dumaina putu ko doine tare ko ana haipetang asida mapung phana isange ko sir kyam iram dabase nungaite to ana pollen chamber se matamamada kaina fill tawmeba pollen chamber se matamamada sporogenous cells na fill tawmeba hojik is sporogenous cell sporogenous cell khudingmakse kai oina act tawrania is sporogenous cell is an every sporogenous cell acts as kai oina act tawreba microspore mother cell oina act tawreba Yareko, act tawrakanda kai chatharani they start undergoing meiosis chatharani giving rise to kai pirani four haploid kai microspore mari form tawre haiba Yareko, hariba thongsibu kai koeba we call it microsporogenesis sporogenesis kawi haidone. Yareko. So this is all about microsporogenesis. The number of meiosis. Actually, the formula am tishan given. Meiosis required to form number of meiosis required to form to form n number of n just my haisira to form x number of pollen grains. Pollen grains x form tauge hai taragadi kamain puthueva equal to x divided by 4 na pigani. Adi 1000 puthoke hai tari 1000 divided by 4 adi 250 meiosis sangani hedo. Siboksi, I understand tauri haine loroge ko. So this is all about the male reproductive part of the flower stamen. We talk about anther. We talk about microsporogenesis. Untang loishalakpoda recall torke ko. Male reproductive part of a flower se kay koiba stamen. Stamen si part ani na sari anther hai bama filamen hai bama. Anther si lob kya longi two lob longi except kanana tana saina rose tana tana. Two lob longba anther se kay koiba dithecus anther koi. Lob amakak longba China rosteoid na kay koiba monothecus poem. Lob among the pollen yob kaukayawi, lob among the pollen chamber ni yaw. Somda nima, pomda nima. Ana total pollen chamber mari yawi haidana dithecus anther singse tetrasporangiate anther sukowi. Yare ko filament ki proximal end se kanada napeba thalamus da napiai petal da napiai. Magi distal end ti kanada napeba always to the anther da napin. And third si transverse section ka akanda, we are able to see the two lobe adum ui, aduga pollen chamber mari dure. And third ki transverse section da kai ui, ani ui, pollen chamber ki part ama, and third ki wall ki part ama. And third ki wall se layer kya na sare eba, layer marina, epidermis, endothelium, middle layer, and tapetum. First three layer duna protection and dehiscence, whereas manung itang tangba layer duna kai ko eba tapetum. Tapetum ki function mari tamgre, nutrient supply to bama, पोरोपोलेनिन सुंगमा पोलन किट सुंगमा पेलेस एंजाइम सुंगमा पोलन चेंबर से ngalingaida kaina fill tormeba ngalingaida it is filled with sporogenous cells that fill torme pollen grains yoram driba matam dudi later on sporogenous cells se kai wena behave tawreba microspore mother cell wena behave tawre and they start undergoing meiosis yareko microspore mother cell amna meiosis tawraga microspore mari mari form tawi we call the phenomenon as microsporogenesis kawi hina yareko last not the least loisilakpasida ko sir simtang palamaga akoi loibadi yare I will be talking about this structure I simtang ga hapaki ko see pollen grains ki structure dunga saige where kai chakre sir na mutat kraba male just a second uh ha he oh here sile to pira endothelium yaudama passing asai sir na kai ko haige endothelium yaudama passe stomium ko stomium se antherduna pokhaibam jaga ne yengko si sirgi somdulake sigi wall se endothelium ne lorose form si endothelium ne lorose ari sumaina ani se taisana taragadi ari ko som se endothelium sigi wall okay sigi wall se endothelium similarly songi wall se endothelium adi sigi tainabam se endothelium yaudadi horen इसिंग चुपसलकांदा जर चाउथोरेबको चाउथोराकांदा एंडोथेशियम यावबा जगादुदि फ्लेक्सिबल ओइबनिन इलास्टिक ओनिना बेलून चाउथोपाइ जे चाउथोनी अदि पोखाइदोइसे इलास्टिक ओइहोदबा माइ ताइनबम हाइदि स्टोमियम जगासिदा पोखाइदोने अने स्टोमियम से कैदोबम जगानु हाइतरि एंडोथेशियम यावदबा जगा डिहाइसेंस अथबम जगादो we call it stomium koi haibam yarja yarekwa so thank you very much ai ngasigi sir class sibok tong thank you all